marks the moment where the American government Today marks the moment where the American government is pressurizing Ethiopia via SR 3199 and HR 6600, while the Ethiopian government is calling its supporters to rally against its implementation. Many, on the other hand, are diligently working for the bills which gives justice to the oppressed get implemented. Hello and welcome to our Wednesday, March 23, 2022 program. This is Shimelis Gebremichael with UMD Media News Packet for today. We invite you all to stay with the program, and for your feedbacks, please use our email address newstips2020umd@gmail.com. UMD extensively works in understanding, measuring, and doing matters. Our news team attempts to update you with the latest in Ethiopia, the Horn, Africa, and the world in general. Any of your support, including the provision of news tips, comments, questions, and suggestions, are always welcome. Wednesday, March 23, 2022 program. This is Shimelis Gebremichael with UMD Media News Packet for today. We invite you all to stay with the program, and for your feedbacks, please use our email address newstips2020umd@gmail.com. UMD extensively works in understanding, measuring, and doing matters. Our news team attempts to update you with the latest in Ethiopia, the Horn, Africa, and the world in general. Any of your support, including the provision of news tips, comments, questions, and suggestions, are always welcome. Before we jump into our news package today, here are the headlines for the major news. A 19 billion birr project has been launched to rebuild war-torn areas in Ethiopia. Ethiopia poised to return 35,000 immigrants from Saudi Arabia. Israeli Justice Ministry report says most racism complaints come from Ethiopians and Arabs. We'll look this story in more detail later in this edition. Now we will move into providing more information on these and other news items. As we always say, please do not forget to like and share our programs and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also view the programs in our platforms like Facebook and LinkedIn. Let's start with the short brief news for today. The first one relates with Ethiopian Airlines' new shift in the administration. Gebremichael retires early as Gebremichael assumes the position the chief executive officer of the Ethiopian Airlines. Following the early retirement of Gebremichael as Ethiopian Group Chief Executive Officer, the former CEO of ET is going to fill the gap of leadership in the airlines. According to the latest information we generated, the board in its ordinary meeting held today has accepted Mr. Tewelle's request for early retirement. Rumors has been going around that Mr. Tewelle was on medical treatment for some times in USA. A special envoy for the Horn of Africa, Satterfield, traveled to Ethiopia. A special envoy for the Horn of Africa, David Satterfield, is in Ethiopia, March 21 and 22. Yesterday and the day before yesterday, to meet Ethiopian government, African Union, AU, and United Nations officials, as well as representatives of humanitarian organizations. Today, the special envoy met with the AU High Representative for the Horn of Africa, Olusegun Obasanjo, and AU Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, Bangoli Adoy, to discuss engagement on regional affairs, including Sudan and Ethiopia. violent war-torn areas, including Tigray. The project said to be implemented by third party in high-risk areas. The government of Ethiopia has unveiled a project worth over 19 billion birr to rebuild and rehabilitate areas affected by the conflict, including Tigray. The first phase of the reconstruction of projects has been announced. Tigray, Amhara, and Afar states are the priority areas in the northern region. The Benishangul Gumuz region and Western Oromia, which have been hit by repeated clashes in the western part of the country, have also been given priority to be included in the first phase of the reconstruction project, the ministry said. The first phase of the project is expected to take 5 years to complete, with over 19 billion birr worth of reconstruction, rehabilitation, and rehabilitation projects planned. Out of the total cost of the project, more than 15 billion birr will come from the World Bank, and the rest will be covered by the Ethiopian government. A multi-ministerial committee has been set up to oversee the project. According to the report, there are more than 4.2 million IDPs in Ethiopia, the largest in the world. More than 50% of the IDPs are women, and at least 720,000 children are displaced. In addition, 85% were displaced by the conflict, and 50% were displaced, or about 2.08 million in the last 6 and 7 months alone. He said about 90% of the IDPs, that is over 1.8 million people, are in Tigray region. Corruption and malpractices worsening the business sector, says the Ethiopian government. The Federal Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission said that the corruption and malpractices in the private sector is worsening. The Commission is engaged with actors in the private sector with the aim to identify bad service delivery practices. It was noted that lack of transparency in the political, social, and economic activities, coupled with institutional malpractices, have contributed to the worsening of corruption in the sector. Samuel Orketo, the commissioner, is cited as saying that the discussion was intended to help understand the depth and complexity of the problem, reach a common understanding, and prepare a plan to overcome the challenge. Skyrocketing prices and price inflation have reached a point that is unbearable to most Ethiopians. American Association of Amhara denounced the Ethiopian government media outlets. The Amhara Association of America, AAA, or AAA, denounced what is called the recent coordinated defamation campaign against its association by pro-Ethiopian government online media outlets. AAA has accused the government of creating havoc and confusion on the principles of the association, other ways and means of implementing the HR 6600. In a press statement it issued yesterday, the association has indicated that it doesn't by any means support the incumbent government in power, but rather support the continuity of Ethiopian state. The association also reaffirmed its readiness to continue working in realizing principled government relation efforts and bringing perpetrators of war crimes as per the provisions of the HR 6600. Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister Demeqa Mekonnen called on Ethiopians in the diaspora to protest HR 6600. He said HR 6600 and S 3199 are drafted to nullify the struggles and regress achievements of Ethiopians all over the world in protecting the sovereignty of their country. This is a comment of someone at the military. 8 workers found on battlefield executed by soldiers. A comment that we received, and we have a little bit of more information on this. 3 employees of Doctors Without Borders set out to rescue the wounded in the war zone in northern Ethiopia. Their fate shows the treacherous paths for many aid workers in conflict zones. Investigators, senior aid officials, and Ethiopian soldiers interviewed by the Times said the 3 aid workers were gunned down by retreating Ethiopian government troops on the orders of a commander who was infuriated to find them in an active combat zone. He said, "Finish them off," said Captain Yetneberg Tesfaye of the Ethiopian National Defense Force, who said he heard the command over the radio. UAE airlifts 30 tons of food aid to Ethiopia's Tigray region. The United Arab Emirates has sent a plane carrying 30 tons of food items to Ma'ala in the Tigray region of Ethiopia as part of humanitarian efforts to airlift supplies to the Tigray people. The assistance will benefit more than 7,000 people, including 5,600 women and children. Appeal for $1.2 billion for South Sudan refugees. The UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, and 102 humanitarian and developmental agencies are asking for $1.2 billion to help 2.3 million South Sudanese refugees and communities sheltering them in 5 countries. Nearly 4 million South Sudanese have fled nearly a decade of civil war and a peace deal that has not yet come to fruition, and they are either still in the country or have become refugees in the neighboring countries. Ethiopia poised to return 35,000 immigrants from Saudi Arabia. Weeks after Ethiopia established the ministerial committee to repatriate about 100,000 Ethiopian immigrants in Saudi Arabia, the government earlier this week announced that 35,000 Ethiopians have already registered for repatriation. Spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, Ambassador Dina Mufti, confirmed about it during this weekly briefing. The Ethiopian embassy in Saudi Arabia has been reportedly preparing Lesia Pasa for those registered migrants who need to return home. Social media sources says that the embassy has made announcements to notify Ethiopians in the country the preparation of traveling documents for those to be repatriated is a priority, that it will not be serving others due to workload. Ethiopian migrants in Saudi Arabia have been brutalized. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabian ambassador to Ethiopia, Mr. Sami Jamel Abdullah, completed his term this week and has paid a courtesy call to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, Demeter Makonnen. Ethiopia is working to repatriate about 100,000 migrants from Saudi Arabia. Now we'll move into one story we have chosen to present to you in more details that will lead us to the Middle East, that is Israel, and it will bring us some information regarding a recently published research, so to say. Israeli Justice Ministry report says most racism complaints come from Ethiopians and Arabs. Most common incidents involve illegal discrimination in providing a service, hiring, and employment in general, followed by racist expressions, racist speech, or stereotypical advertising made in the public sphere. According to an annual report from the unit that was issued Sunday, most racism and discrimination complaints filed in the past year by Israel's justice minister involved in combating racism and discrimination related to alleged mistreatment of Israelis of Ethiopian descent, Arabs, and the ultra-Orthodox Jews. The most common complaint was discrimination in obtaining the service. According to the report, 24% of the complaints involved racism detected at people of Ethiopian descent, 24% Arabs, and 10% against Haredim. 4% involved incidents detected as Mizrahi Jews of Middle Eastern origin. In 2021, 458 cases were opened on complaints of racism and discrimination, compared to 497 cases in 2019 and 506 cases in 2020. It should be noted that the data refers to complaints received by the unit, which is not necessarily a complete reflection of the reality in the country. An analysis of the complaints by subject shows that 23% were for alleged illegal discrimination in providing a service. 11% were for discrimination in hiring and employment in general. 10% were for racist expressions made in the public sphere. 9% for racist or stereotypical advertising in the public sphere. 7% for racist speech and public services. 7% for police treatment of complainants, and 4% regarding educational issues, and 3% involving racially motivated crimes. The report also provides examples with details of some of the cases, including a complaint filed by Yuval Makuria, a young man of Ethiopian descent who alleged that he is regularly discriminated against due to his background at a Victory supermarket store. Last May, a judge ruled that Victory must pay Makuria 75,000 shekels, that is $23,000 in damage, and 25,000 shekels in legal fees. In 2008, they arrived at the Johannesburg airport, awaiting check-in prior to boarding at El Al flight to Israel. At a certain point, the airline security officer ordered them out of the line. He demanded various documents, including certificates of military service. The report also cites an incident of suspected racially motivated conduct by police officers during a bus inspection. The complaint asserted that while enforcing COVID-19 restrictions in January 2021, police gave tickets for not wearing seat belts to all Arab passengers, but none of the Jewish ones. The tickets were cancelled upon review, and steps were ordered to be taken as a lesson from this case of police misconduct. Well, with that, we come to an end of the news for today. This has been Shimelis Gebremichael here at UMD Media. Please do not forget to like and share our program and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow our programs through our other platforms as well to become the first to know what is going on in Ethiopia, the Horn, Africa in general, and the world. You can easily reach us via our email address, newstips2020umd@gmail.com. Thank you for watching and have a good one.